Hi everyone, this is lesson 30 and today's topics are really important, two really important ones. The first is that topic of least common multiples or LCM and the other reciprocals. So working with reciprocals is going to be really important as we move forward with our fraction work in 6th grade math. Let's scroll down and take a look at our learning targets for today. You will identify common multiples of two numbers, finding the least common multiple of two numbers. Those are two different things. Identify reciprocals as numbers that have a product of 1 when multiplied. And then also finding the reciprocal of a given number by reversing the position of the numerator and denominator of the numbers. So basically, if you're given a fraction or even a whole number, the flip of that is the reciprocal. So if you can remember in your head, reciprocal is the flip of any fraction or whole number. Here's a little bit of vocabulary for you. I'm just going to zoom out so you can see more of the screen. LCM. So that's kind of a common abbreviation here in math. The least common multiple, or LCM, is the smallest whole number that is a multiple of two or more numbers. So remembering back, we've done a lesson recently on multiples. So remembering that multiples are multiplication facts. So the facts of a number. So for example, the multiplication facts or the multiples of 5 would be 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. Multiples are infinite. They never stop. When you're finding the least common multiple of two or more numbers, it's kind of up to you to solve as many as you typically want. I usually go about 4 or 5, and then I stop and then I start to compare. I'll tell you in a minute what I mean. Here's an example just to take a look at, not for you to try, but just to look at. We have multiples of 2 listed here. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, all the way to 20. Looks like, they've listed 10 of them. And then multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, and they've stopped at 21. And then here you can see that the common multiples are circled here. So CM would stand for the common multiples. Today, sorry about that. Today we're talking specifically about least common multiples. So the L, really important. So that's just looking at all of the ones that are in common. What is the least of them? What is the smallest common multiple they have? That's 6, and then identifying what that is. That being said, I have an example for you to try. What is the least common multiple of 3 and 4? Just to review really quick, the way to find that is just finding the multiples of 3, finding the multiples of 4. Kind of up to you how many you want to solve out. Maybe, I don't know, go 5 out and see if you need to keep going. And then identifying what the least common multiple of these two numbers is. So pause the video and unpause when you're ready to check your work with mine. All right, so you can see that I've done some of my work already. I've found all of my multiples of 3 as far as I kind of wanted to go. And then I left my work for finding the multiples of 4 to do with you on this video. So a really good, strategy is that once you find the multiples of one number, basically when you're finding the multiples of the second number, as soon as you identify a common multiple that they have, you can stop. So I'm going to solve for my 4s, and as soon as I see that there's a multiple of 4 that is also a multiple of 3, I'm going to stop. So when I'm thinking about my multiples of 4 or my multiplication facts of 4, I always start with 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. Oh, look at that. We have a common multiple. So even though I went further with my 3 here, I'm going to stop here with my 4. I can see that they have a common multiple. I'm going to circle it. And then what I'm going to ask is, please don't leave your answer like this. This is not super clear. A good way to write your answer would be, I guess I was going to say LCM equals 12, but just 12 is fine. Just make sure you write it out a second time. Give this one a try. What's the LCM, least common multiple, of 2 and 4? Some of these you might be able to solve in your head, and that's totally fine. I'm still going to ask you to pause this video, I'm going to pause mine and do some work, and we'll check in with our answer. Okay, so you can see that I have my work here on the screen. I found my multiples of 2. When I was listing them out, I started with 2, 4, and then I was like, wait a minute, 4 is my other number. I'm going to stop there. I know that 4 times 1 is 4. That quickly became my least common multiple that they had, and then I just rewrote the number 4. Okay, we're going to talk a bit about reciprocals. So like I said earlier, when you think of the word reciprocal, you should think of the word flip. A reciprocal is the flip of a fraction or even a flip of a whole number, because I know I said this in a video recently, but any whole number is also a fraction. At any point in time, all you do is put a 1 under it as a denominator. So by definition, reciprocals are two numbers whose product is 1, meaning a number times its flip. So a number multiplied by its flip or by its reciprocal will always give you 1. So think about this one right here. 2 times 1/2 equals 1. That's like saying if I had a pile of 2 Oreos and I divided that pile in half, each pile would have 1. So 2 times 1/2 would be 1. Just to point out, 1/2 is the reciprocal of 2. Because if you think about 2 as a fraction, right now it looks like a whole number. It's just a matter of what it looks like. It's really the same thing as that, right? So the reciprocal of that would be 1/2. This is important to remember because I know that often in your homework, it's worded this way. Reciprocals also answer questions like, how many 1/4 are in 1? So how many of some fraction are in 1? That's saying like 1/4 times what would give me 1? Well, by definition, they said that a number times its reciprocal gives you 1. So if they're asking this, they're asking 1/4 times what would give me 1? Well, what would the reciprocal of 1/4 be? Flip it over. It would be 4/1. Right? Because if it's 1/4, the reciprocal would be 4/1. But really, the most advanced form of that answer, instead of writing 4/1, you could just write 4. And if you think about that, that totally makes sense, right? There are 4 1/4 in 1. So if you had a pizza and you cut it into 4 pieces, so each piece was huge, it was a quadrant, 4 of those 1/4 sections would make one big pizza, right? 4 1/4 are in 1. This is just a little bit of notes explaining what I just said to you. Think about 2 as 2/1, so the reciprocal would be 1/2, just showing you that reciprocals are flips of a number. And if you really are to multiply these out, for example, 3/4 times 4/3 would give you 12/12, which is the same thing as 1. Please give this one a try. Again, this is a question about reciprocals. Oftentimes they're worded like this. It's kind of weird, but how many 2/3 are in 1? Basically, 2/3 times what will give me 1? Pause the video, unpause when you're ready to check your work. Okay, so I've set this problem up. 2/3 times what is going to give me 1? Well, based on that rule of reciprocals, a number times its reciprocal or times its flip is going to give me 1. So the reciprocal of 2/3 would be, this just made me think for a moment. It would be 3/2, right? But I challenge you. I wonder if I can move this stuff. One moment. Okay, so I just moved that over a little bit. I challenge you, instead of writing 3/2 or 3/2, there's a better way to write that number, right? Because there's a more advanced way to write an improper fraction. Instead of writing it like this, we're going to say how many 2's fit into 3? We're going to turn this into a mixed number. How many 2's fit into 3? 1. 2 times 1 is 2 with 1 left over. 1.5. How many 2/3 are in 1? 1.5. This is a higher form of that same answer. 3/2 or 3/2 is not wrong, but there's just a more complete way to write your answer. Again, another reciprocal problem. What number goes into the box to make this equation true? Pause the video and unpause when you're ready to check your work. Okay, so the reciprocal of 5/6 would be 6/5. I've flipped my fraction upside down, but I want to write my answer in a more complete form. So again, I'm going to turn this improper fraction into a mixed number. So how many 5s can fit into 6? Well, one of them. 5, 6. There's one left over, so 1 and 1. My denominator stays the same, and I have 1 and 1/5. That is the most complete answer you could provide. Okay. I believe we have one more example to try. What's the reciprocal of 5? So keep in mind, all whole numbers are actually fractions if you just put them over 1 as a denominator. Pause the video and unpause when you're ready to check. Okay, so the reciprocal of 5, or of any whole number, just becomes 1/5. So the reciprocal of any whole number is now going to be 1 as your numerator and then that whole number on the bottom. So 1/5 would be the reciprocal of 5, because 5 you can really think about as 5/1. That's it for your example or